Welcome to Hypnosis Health Info. I'm Roger Moore. Some of you may be old enough to remember the mamas and the papas and remember Mama Cass. And yesterday I was looking online at WebMD, and there was an article that immediately reminded me of a song that I hadn't thought about in years. And I should have Googled the name of the song. I don't remember the name, but the song had a line that was, "Nobody's getting fat except Mama Cass." And this article that I saw yesterday, which was Cinco de Mayo, May 5th of 2011, the title of the article is "Many in U.S. No Longer Worry About Weight." And it says, though researchers have repeatedly sounded the alarm about America's bulging waistlines, a new survey shows that those warnings appear to be falling on a deaf or at least confused ears when it's time to eat. Their survey, which has been conducted since 2006 by the nonprofit International Food Information Council Foundation, finds that concern about weight and weight loss efforts are at an all-time low. Now get this, folks. Obesity is an all-time high. Our children have a shorter life expectancy than my generation does, which is totally preventable and to me criminal. And yet concern is at an all-time low. Most respondents don't count calories, and more people admit that they're not trying to balance the number of calories they eat and burn. Levels of inactivity appear to be on the rise too. More Americans say they are sedentary in 2011 compared to 2010. In 2010 it was 37% that were sedentary, and this year, 2011, it's 43%. At the same time, fewer people in the survey consider themselves to be overweight this year compared to last, though the reported weights and heights would have landed them in that category. Compared to 2010's survey, more people say their diets are healthy, and fewer are making dietary changes at a time of economic uncertainty. However, the survey suggests weight loss may be on the back burner for a lot of people. Taste is the main reason people buy food at the grocery store or a restaurant, but price is catching up as a main consideration. Though 80% of people report taste as their top priority, 79% made price the number 2 factor in food and drink decision making, a 15% jump for price since 2006. Healthfulness of food ranked third. 66% said a food's nutritional quality affected their food choices. And one thing that I suspect is a reason why the price has come in is because our food costs have certainly gone up with rising food costs and just the economic times. In the 2011 survey, 50% of respondents consider themselves to be overweight compared to 57% in 2010. So let me say that again. In 2010, it was 57%. In 2011, it was 50%. According to information on weight and height collected by the online survey, about 30% of the respondents were actually overweight and 34% were obese. That finding is interesting because it represents an overall drop in the number of people who think of themselves as being overweight, and second, it shows that many people underestimate how bad their weight problem really is. Only 57% of participants say they are concerned about their weight this year, down from 70% in 2010, and an all-time low for the survey. Wow. Went from 70% last year down to 57% this year, but our level of being overweight and obesity actually went up a little bit. Those who say they are trying to lose or maintain weight is also down 69% in 2011 compared to 77% in 2010. The survey may be picking up signs of a normalization of large body sizes. As friends and families also grow in girth, people feel okay by comparison. Yeah, I've talked about that before with 65% of the U.S. population overweight. That's norm. That's normal. It is abnormal to be at a healthy weight in our country, and that's really sad. We might like to be okay at any size, but the simple fact of the matter is that we're not. So in spite of the fat acceptance movement, it's really not okay. We're getting diabetes, we're getting heart disease, we're getting preventable cancers, many of them having to do with our size, and that's not okay. These things are happening in our children, and that's not okay. And so, we talk about, in the survey they talked about how food prices came into consideration as number 2, second to taste. Well, what about the cost of all these medical issues that are totally preventable by changing what we're eating? It really would be not only healthier, but certainly economically cheaper individually as well as a nation if we spent a little bit more money and bought healthy food, stop buying the fast processed foods. When you're relying on quick fix solutions to this problem and you've tried them all, you do reach a point where you stop believing. Maybe to some extent people have decided that they're going to stop trying. Nobody wants to acknowledge a problem they can't fix. We have not yet done a nearly good enough job empowering people to make them feel like they really can get to the prize being sustainable weight loss. Their weight controlled without being hungry and miserable for the rest of their life. And that to me is so critical and just a huge important component of the Slender for Life weight loss program, is that it truly is about obtaining your ideal weight and most importantly staying there, but also allowing food to be an important part of your life. I mean, we got to eat. It's fuel for our bodies. Food should taste good. It should be wonderful. But I think one of the things that's happened is that, we're, as a society, we're just overbusy. People are tired. They're exhausted. And the thought of coming home and preparing a healthy meal just puts them into overload, overwhelm, or the thought of, oh God, now I got to go to the gym after getting home. They just aren't doing it. They aren't getting out and going for their walks. They're not getting on their bike. They're not being physically active. And yeah, we're paying a huge price for that. And people who have dieted, they followed some diet and they've lost a little bit of weight, and then they get busy with life and they're tired of going through deprivation. They put weight back on, they do the yo-yo thing, up, down, up, down, up, and pretty soon they just give up. And I think that's also a lot of what's going on here is referenced with this article. And so it really is important that we empower ourselves, that we take back control of our lives and the stress and what's going on in our lives. We take back control that we've given away to food and using food as a drug and numbing out and trying to not to feel or trying to create pleasure. And we use that inner control, and that's what hypnosis is really all about, is taking control of ourselves and what we eat, how much we eat, and getting to our ideal weight and staying there, as well as managing stress and managing our thoughts and our emotions. And healthy food really, really can taste good. Last weekend, Marilyn and I, my wife and I, we were up in Vancouver, Washington. And we went to Joe Fortes, which is a seafood restaurant right off Robson there. And I wasn't too sure what I'd find on their menu, but right in the center of their menu, under their main entrees, was a Portobello steak. And I talked to the waiter about it, and it sounded wonderful. And it came in, it was probably the best food that I've eaten in a couple of years. It was an amazing meal. And what it was portobello mushroom that was quartered, and it was smoked. And it had this smoke with a hint of garlic flavor to it. And it was on top of a pile of mashed potatoes that were to die for. They were so good. And I couldn't quite figure out what was in the mashed potatoes, and asked the waiter, and because I was so excited about this meal and the taste of it, and what was in there was some avocado. And then there was some just delightfully cooked steamed asparagus and some carrots, that were warm all the way through and yet had a crunch and just full of flavor. And I was so excited about the meal that I emailed the chef and complimented him and said, "So what's your recipe?" And he told me, he gave me ideas on home cookers for the mushrooms, and talked about how he's just totally hooked on smoked mushrooms. And then also told me that for my own use that I could do a smoked sea salt and get the same effect. So that's where I'm going to start, is trying the smoked sea salt on mushrooms and seeing how that works. If I need to go buy the home smoker, I'll do that because it was so good. And then what he said about the potatoes is they take fingerling potatoes, they mash them up with a fork, hand mash them. They mix in some avocado with just a titch of olive oil and a little bit of sea salt and some fresh garlic, and that's what it was. It was really, really good. It was a very healthy, very wonderful meal. It wasn't fat-free. It wasn't something, if you were in a weight loss mode, that you want to eat a lot of or very often, but on special occasions, it was great. I'm in maintenance mode. I'm not trying to lose weight, and I was very comfortable eating that meal, and it was just really, really good. So folks, you know, we just can't give up on our country and on obesity and give up on our kids. We really do have to take charge and take responsibility for our own health care, and I keep saying health care reform begins with each of us individually. Taking responsibility, empowering ourselves to be in charge of what we're eating, how much we're eating, and ultimately our weight. I'm Roger Moore, and this is Hypnosis Health Info.